Can you all see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So today's topic of discussion is discover inner self. Inner self means something that is inside us, inside this body. The soul, mind, we're going to discuss about that. So one eternal truth that can change your vision. When you have proper understanding of the difference between the body, mind, and soul, it changes our complete vision. And why is it important that we need to study about mind, body, and soul? What is the necessity to discover ourselves? What is the necessity to see what's inside ourselves? So, for example, in the modern mankind, in the modern world, mankind has evolved and developed in so many ways, right? He has practically controlled many things. He has developed so many things in technological advancement, medical advancement. So many things have happened. But when it comes to controlling, he has also controlled so many things. He practically controlled even like big animals like elephant and tigers, lions, and he even made them dance. But one thing he failed to do is he um, could not control his own mind. So because in the contemporary world the emphasis is not given in some of the most important things, fundamental things like human values, good relationships, peace of mind. Forget about peace of mind. I mean, people don't even know the concept of peace of mind. They just bombard themselves with so many things all the time, and they don't even try to keep their mind peaceful. So and good health, all these things are being neglected if you observe carefully around us. So when we start studying about our inner self, it gives you an idea, and it gives you a proper vision why it is necessary to I mean, the vision you get by understanding your own self, and it helps you to prepare yourself to these things, and develop your own. See, for example, there is like four different things, right? PQ, EQ, IQ, and SQ. PQ is physical coefficient. IQ is intelligent coefficient, and EQ is emotional coefficient, and SQ is spiritual coefficient. So when somebody focuses completely on his body, when let us say somebody is completely focused on developing his body, taking care of his body by yogasanas or going to a gym or doing exercises, you can call as something is like a I mean, is a good animal. Because what does an animal do? It only thinks about its body, it doesn't think about anything else. So you're taking only constantly taking care of your body only. You're only taking care of a PQ, physical coefficient only. Then we can consider somebody is like a good animal. So suppose somebody is focusing on IQ, intelligent coefficient. He's like somebody is a good craftsman. He's like a good craftsman. He could be a good carpenter or a good doctor, or in his trade they're developing their intelligent coefficient. And EQ is emotional coefficient. So somebody who is focusing on the relationships between the people, among the people, and like a good friend is the EQ. And SQ is somebody who is developing a understanding the position of God and his relationship with God, and developing a connection, establishing a connection with God. That's a saintly quality, saintly person. So he's a saintly person. So these four things, PQ, EQ, IQ, SQ, all these four things are important for the well-being of a human being. But in the contemporary world, EQ and SQ, emotional coefficient and spiritual coefficient, are not given much importance. Only if you see, it's all gratification. See, for example, you might have seen, for example, maybe some of you might have seen like a release of a new iPhone, I've seen once when the iPhone was released, they said like I saw an ad there. They said like you get instant gratification. Instant gratification. So it's all completely the modern world and the world we live in, the contemporary times. Most of the time, it's completely focused on PQ and IQ, and you're gratifying your senses. But the emotional coefficient and also the spiritual coefficient is going behind. So this today we'll be studying what is the importance of those things and why we need to study. So the fundamental thing in Bhagavad Gita, the inner self. As a driver drives a car, soul drives a living body. Scientific research have proved it. So what is the matter? Matter is jada. Jada means matter. It is dead. Soul is chetan. Soul it gives a consciousness to the body. So the knowledge of relationship between matter and soul and God can bring a positive change in the world. So this is the reason why it is necessary to study about the difference between body and soul and the mind and how they function together, right? For example, if you take a glove, if you take a, let's see, let's go to, so okay, why should I study about the soul? So Arjuna, he's not an ordinary human being. Arjuna, when he was in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was completely distressed. Okay, he left his Gandiva bow and he was completely distressed. And he said, like, I'm even unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting to see myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. Oh Arjuna, oh Krishna, and he completely lost his confidence and he was completely in anxiety. He was demoralized and he was feeling stressful and depressed, right? But if you carefully observe, Arjuna is not an ordinary being. He's actually the son of he's the son of Kunti and Pandu Maharaj, but actually he was born from Indra himself. He's not an ordinary soul. But for such a person also, he is completely bewildered. But then he learned the knowledge of soul from Krishna, and then Arjuna became victorious. So the knowledge that's given in Bhagavad Gita mainly focuses the Sankhya philosophy, the difference between the body and soul. One has to understand that. That is why, and once Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, he became a completely new man. He completely became free from anxiety. He's no longer stressed out. He's no longer depressed, and then he stood up and he finished his duty in a much more joyous way, actually. And he was very happy to perform his duty. Until then, he was completely distressed. And so the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is very, very important. And it was practically one of the most commented book in the world. It's like even politicians like Gandhi, politicians like Radhakrishna, they commented on that. Even scientists like Oppenheimer and Einstein, they all commented on Bhagavad Gita. And Shankaracharya is none other than Lord Shiva himself. He's an incarnation of Lord Shiva himself. Shankaracharya, he said simply, just if you want to carry one book with you, if you want to read one book, that is, just carry Bhagavad Gita. It is a culmination of all the Vedas, all the four Vedas and all the 108 Upanishads. It's juice of all the Upanishads. So if you, Gita Upanishad, if you just read Bhagavad Gita, it covers everything. So the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is very important. Now we're using from Bhagavad Gita what Krishna has said about the soul and the body. Now that's what we're going to study. So in today's discussion, we'll study about 5 things. Am I matter or spirit? And what are the scientific proofs for the existence of spirit soul? And what is the difference between a living person and a robot? And how the mechanism of mind works. Krishna clearly explains how the mind works in Bhagavad Gita. I promise you, even the most scholarly people and the scientific people who have excelled in medical sciences, they can't even tell the way the Krishna is described in Bhagavad Gita about the mind, body, and soul and how they function together. So we will study about that today. And what are the practical benefits of the knowledge of soul in our day-to-day life? We'll also see that. So the first thing is, am I matter or spirit? So matter is jada. Jada means, like I said, it does not have life to it. It doesn't have any consciousness to it. Whereas spirit is chetan. Chetan. It is the one that gives consciousness to the matter, right? So for example, if you look at a small ant, such a small thing, and if you take a big mountain or a big rock, it is dead, it can't do anything, but a small ant can do so many things. And this phenomena has made so many scientists so curious. What is this life? What gives such a small like an ant makes it so able to perform so many things? So we are basically trying to fundamentally see as things as they are. So if we let us say, if you take a hammer, right, and if you are trying to hit a nail, and if you accidentally hit on your finger, what happens? You feel an electrochemical reaction can happen, and then you feel the nerves transferring the message to your brain, and there is a spike in your brain, and then you experience the pain, and you suddenly also give a response, like you feel the pain and you shout. So scientists are intrigued. Scientists are really like, what is that? Who is that's screaming? Who is that person? Who is that person experiencing the pain? So there is a behavioral pattern, right? There is a behavioral pattern. There is a perception. When you see something, there is a perception, and then there is a mental activity going on in your mind, and then there is a purposeful action that happens, right? So, for example, there is a snake going on. This snake's crawling, and you see the snake. Immediately, you perceive that through your senses. You perceive the snake through your senses, and then a mental activity is happening from your previous experience or your past knowledge, or somebody told you that a snake bite can kill you. So that is a mental activity going on, and then a purposeful action happens. What is that purposeful action happens? So you immediately take some object and you try to kill the snake, or you'll try to run away from that place. So that is a purposeful action happening. So that is the difference between a living being and a dead matter. So a dead matter cannot exhibit these kind of things, whereas a living being can experience these things. So who are you? When I ask you a question, who are you? Let us say, what will your answer be? I say like, my name is this, my name is that, or I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm a scientist. You'll say all kinds of these things. But did you bring all these designations when you were born? So none of these designations were existing with you when you were born, but you're still there. But these designations were not with you. So you are not those designations is what you describe yourself, what your name or anything. So when you die, when the soul leaves the body, so suppose you're a doctor, can the body perform the body lying there? Can the body perform the activities of a doctor? Till that time you carried the designation that I'm a doctor. Till that time you carried the designation that I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist. Can the body perform any of those activities when the soul leaves the body? So it cannot, right? So who are you? Who really are you? So let us see. So there is a professor of anatomy in Illinois College of Medicine. What he said was, is most of our body is just a bundle of chemicals. He says, like, for example, in a 60-pound person, there is like 5 pounds of calcium, 1.5 pounds of phosphate, and phosphorus, sulfur, iodine, iron, copper, and all these things. So if you put all of them together, it is like just 100 rupees, like $100 or something like that. So suppose if I bring all those chemicals in your that's existing in your body, and if I put in on a tray, and you keep the human body on one side, and you keep all these chemicals on the other side, can it feel everything what the human body can feel, or can it experience everything what the human person can experience? uh, it cannot, right? So it is it can clearly say that you are more than just a dead body. I mean, you are just more than just a bundle of chemicals. So if, let us say, suppose if you, there is a something called mechanistic science and non-mechanistic science. So in mechanistic science, what they say is, you are bundle of chemicals. Suppose, let us say, you are just a bundle of chemicals. You buy a Benz car, you buy a Mercedes Benz car, and that is maybe 50,000 or $60,000. And if you are just a bundle of chemicals, it is like 100 rupees or 200 rupees or $200 or something, whatever it is. So suppose if you are driving that Mercedes Benz and you end up in an accident, so who will be taken care first? Whether the Mercedes Benz will be taken care, or the human person who is sitting inside the car will be taken care. So obviously the human being who is sitting inside the car will be taken care, right? So so if you are just a bundle of chemicals which is not more than $100, why are you taking care of the human body when the car is more expensive? So that clearly explains that you're not just this body, there is something beyond your body, right? Um, suppose, I mean, when the soul leaves the body, there is no longer the beauty. The beauty is given by the presence of soul inside the body. When the body dies, you still have all those chemicals, but you don't have any feelings. No thinking is there, no desire, no movement, no consciousness. So you still have everything in there, everything in the body. For example, if you look at this slide, you all probably know this actor. She's Devi, very beautiful actor, and everybody is so fond of her. But when she dies, she doesn't look like that anymore, right? All the beauty is gone. The spirit soul, the present in the body, is what gives you that beauty. For example, if you go to an aquarium, the fishes are nicely swimming. They're so beautiful. It's very nice to see them. But if the same fishes are lying dead on the bottom of the aquarium, is it any more beauty? Do you see any beauty in that? The presence of spirit soul is what gives you the body beauty to that spirit soul. I mean, sorry, beauty to the body. So, for example, if you're when you're living, you care for your hair, you care for your nails so nicely. So when the same hair falls in your food, will you like that? You cared for that hair so much, but if you care, if a follicle of hair falls in your food, will you like that? You won't like it anymore, right? Once it is detached from your body, and you no longer like that. Similarly, when you cut your nails, you take that nail and it directly goes into your trash can or dustbin. So till that time you cared your nail so nicely, but what happened when the nail comes out of your finger, it goes directly into the dustbin. Similarly, so Shankaracharya says, Yavat pavano nivashati tehe tavat prachati kushalam dehe gehe gatavati vayu deha paye bharya bebhyate tasmin kaye. So Shankaracharya is explaining, when the soul leaves the body, till the presence of soul in your body, everybody greets you. Hi, how are you? How are you doing? Everybody care for your well-being. Once the soul leaves the body, Gatavati Vayu, Deha Paye. As soon as the soul leaves the body, Bharya Bibhyat, even your own Bharya, your own wife is also scared of you. Till that time she cared you so much, she showed so much love to you, she cooked food for you, she slept with you, and she showed so much love for you. But as soon as the soul leaves the body, even she is so afraid of you. So what is that thing present before that makes you feel like you are so loved, your wife is so loving to you, but as soon as the soul leaves the body, yeah, but the body is still there, You have I mean, your eyes are still there, your nose is still there, your hands, your beautiful hair, your nails, and everything is there. But it is not. The conscious is not there. The soul, as soon as the soul leaves the uh, body is not liked by your own wife or your own husband anymore. So this clearly says that you are not this body. Once the soul is gone, you're not this body anymore. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, "Na jayate mrite va kadachin bhutva bhavitavana bhuyaha ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire." For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So if you look at this slide, the soul is passing dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyate. Krishna says, as the soul is passing from the boyhood to youth to old age, as the similarly at the time of death, the soul leaves the body and it passes on to another body. So a sober person who is not bewildered by a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So Krishna is saying the soul passes. I mean, the one thing that is not changing, but this, if you carefully observe the difference between a body and soul, body is jada, dead matter, and the soul is the one that gives consciousness to the matter. And body is not conscious, soul is conscious. Body changes. If you look from your childhood, if you take a photography of your childhood, how you look, and when you take a photograph of yourself now, how you look differently, right? So something is changing and something is not changing. If you are continuously changing, that means, I mean, if you think you are the body, if you think you are the body, so the body is changing. So that means you are changing. That means it is not you. If you are changing, if you think you are the body, you are changing. So then who are you? The one that is not changing is the soul. The soul is the one that passes in the body as the body is moving, as the body is growing. So even I think the medical science says, like, after every 7 years, not even one single cell is the same. So you get all new cells, completely new cells. You don't even have the old cells anymore after every 7 years or say 8 years something. So you're not the body. You are completely changed. Then who are you? The same person who were when you were the same when you were a child and you were a adult, and when you are old age you are the same person. Who is that? That person who is not changing. That is the spirit soul. That's what this Krishna is saying. So when you look at yourself in your, that's what we were discussing, like if you take a photograph, if you look at yourself in a mirror, you're changing, you're continuously, your body is changing, but something that is not changing, that's driving the changing body, is the soul that's present in your body. So from the material viewpoint, we are, body is made up of matter. From the material point of view, we are bodies made up of matter. I have seen some people, so what is the necessity of knowing whether you will, whether there is whether there is life after this death or not? Who knows, or who cares? Well, it is you who have to care. It is your duty to know. So we are no, from the material point of view, it says like we are no more than just a chemical bundle of chemicals, like we discussed in mechanistic science. So mechanistic science, another example I can give you is, for example, if you take a gulab jamun, right? When you take a gulab jamun, mechanistic science says the shape of the gulab jamun is round. It has a so and so diameter. It has so and so porosity. It gives you all the physical characteristics of it, and it flows in a it floats in a sugar syrup. The viscosity of the sugar syrup is so and such and such viscosity. But the mechanistic science, can it describe the feeling or the experience of eating a gulab jamun? No, but when you put that gulab jamun in your mouth, you can immediately feel it's so delicious. But if you put the same gulab jamun in a dead body, can it give you the experience? So what is the that's present in your body, giving you the ability to feel or experience and all these things? Right? For when you perceive, when you see some beautiful painting, When you see some beautiful painting, you feel, oh, that is so beautiful. Suppose when you put the same painting in front of a dead body, can it feel how beautiful it is? So when you touch something, you feel how smooth and nice it is. Or when you smell something, such a when you take a flower offered to Krishna, when you smell it nicely, it smells so nicely, nice. It gives a nice fragrance. When you put the same flower in front of a dead body, can it feel? Can it feel? Can it the physical properties? You can describe the physical properties. Can it give the nature of the smell of it? It cannot, right? So that is the material viewpoint. And what is the spiritual viewpoint? We are not the material body, just with the flesh or bones. We are the spirit soul encased in the material body. We are the spirit soul encased in this material body. Just like we are wearing this shirt, we are wearing this body. The soul is wearing this body. So where we do not die when the material body stops to function. Krishna said like najayate mrite vagadachin nayam bhutvana vitavana bhuyaha ajonitya shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyam ane sharire. So when the body dies, the soul I mean the body dies but the soul does not die. You cannot cut the soul into pieces. You cannot put the soul into like you cannot drown the soul, or you cannot burn the soul. So soul is the one that continues to live. So just as a bird is trapped in the cage, the soul is trapped in this body made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. We will discuss those things. And suppose like if you don't know the real identity, who you are, then what will you do? You constantly pamper your body. You constantly take care of your body. You gratify your body, and you leave the soul aside. Just like if you see this picture, the woman in this picture is taking care of the. There is a parrot inside a cage, right? And she is nicely taking care of the polishing the cage outside, and the cage looks so nice and beautiful. But if you don't feed the parrot inside, what happens? The parrot dies. Similarly, if we the food for our body is like we take air in and out, that's food for our body, and we eat, we put some fuel in our body, that is our food for our body. But what is the food for of the soul? For example, the nature of the soul is Satchit Ananda. We will learn about that in next subsequent slides. So if you feed the soul, that's by making it understand its eternal constitutional position. That is the food for soul. So just like hearing Bhagavad Gita and chanting the names of gods, or looking at the beautiful form of God, knowing about God, and establishing the connection, establishing the connection. Yoga means the yoga word yuj. Yuj is derived from that is a connection, establishing the connection. So when you establish your connection with God, that is the food for soul. That's what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. So now let us see what is the scientific proof for existence of spirit soul. The reason why we need to understand the existence of soul and how it is different from body is it helps you to give you a complete different vision. Like you will know why am I taking birth, why am I dying, and what am I doing in this process, and why am I performing all these activities. And see, when I am attached to this body, when I don't know the difference between the body and soul, you're identifying yourself with the body, and you continuously like feel the like a pleasure or pain, and respect and disrespect. You get affected by those things. But when you have proper understanding that you are not the spirit body but your spirit soul, and your outlook completely changes, and it helps you to understand and live a life of higher purpose. And then you start establishing the connection with that higher purpose. So that is why it is very important. That's why Krishna gives that knowledge to Arjuna. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives when Arjuna is completely dejected. So what did Krishna do? He gave the knowledge of soul, because Arjuna was is identifying himself with the body, and he is seeing everybody in the battlefield as his brothers, uncles like teachers, Dronacharya. He's seeing everybody has his relationship in connection with his body. But when the soul leaves the body, what happens to all those relationships? They're no longer existed. They're no all those relationships are gone when the soul leaves the body. So that's why Krishna gave that knowledge to Arjuna, that you are not this body but your spirit soul. And then having that understanding, that understanding of that he is no longer identified himself with the body, and having that knowledge of spirit soul, he understood the purpose of his battle, how he understood why he should fight, and he did his activity for a higher principle, for to uphold dharma, right? So that is why it is important to understand uh, the difference between the body and soul, and we are not this body and we are this spirit soul. And some of the scientific proofs we can understand also, like some might think like, okay, this is just like maybe it's not true, it is just because it is given in a book, it may not be true. But there is a scientific proof also for the existence of soul. We'll let us look at that. So scientific proof for the existence of soul can be understood in four different ways. One is common sense, another one is a consciousness. You can observe the consciousness between a living body and a non-living body when it is dead. And the near-death experience, NDE, it is called as NDE. There are so many studies done in that field. And out-of-body experience, OBE studies, and reincarnation research. Let us see. So what is the, let us go one by one. So what is the first way? Common sense. Common sense is when a person dies, he says like, okay, he passed away. He passed away. So who is that who passed away? The body is still there, right? Who is that who passed away? The body is still there. So the spirit soul is actually the one that passed away. That is a common sense way of understanding that we are not this body. The spirit soul has passed away. That is a common sense, a one way of understanding. So consciousness. So suppose if you compare yourself with a something like a dead machine. When you go for a walk in the morning, you see this nice, beautiful sunlight, right? Sunlight, sun rays, nice sun raising in the east. You see that, and a camera can also see that. But what is the difference? A camera is a programmed machine. It doesn't feel. Okay, it doesn't have consciousness, whereas we can think, we can feel, and I mean we have feel the happiness and all that. So that all that feelings are given by the presence of the conscious force. The living force is what is making you I mean the presence of soul is what giving you the consciousness. And third one is near death experience. So in America, I think there are so many studies are going on and the near death experience. So there is a professor called Dr. Michael Sabum. He's a cardiologist. He's a professor from the Emory University in medical school. And over a period of 30 years, he has studied the near death experience so scientifically, with the utmost scientific credentials. He studied these and there are so many books also in scientific from the scientific class of people. There are so many books that are given in from medical experts. They have experienced this. For example, some of you in the doctor can confirm this. So a body is declared clinically dead when you see on the ECG or something on the screen, when it's no longer spikes. It's when there is a straight line, when the body is no longer responding, or you declare clinically dead, right? But there were some instances where the person came back to life, and that person was hearing everything. Even though the doctors have declared he's clinically dead, he was giving his experiences, that what he was hearing and everything. So there were studies about the out of body experience, and there was near death experience. You can just Google, and there are also on Amazon, there are so many books. There were scientifically very carefully done research. Now, I mean, taking away all the fake things, they were very scientifically and carefully studied research were done on the near-death experience and out-of-body experience. And this is a professor. His name is Ian Stevenson. He's a psychiatrist. He's a professor in psychiatry. He studied more than 3,000 cases of reincarnation. So what is reincarnation? Reincarnation means you have set A and you have set B, right? So set A, and there is something common between set A and set B. Set A is past life and set B is this present life. The one thing that's common between set A and set B is spirit soul. The spirit soul is traveling from the past life. It was in a particular body and it has experienced so many things, and it left the body and it took another body. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tata dehantar praptir derastatra muhyate. So as the soul passes from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly at the time of death, the soul leaves the body and it takes another body. So that is what reincarnation is, and it is scientifically studied by this professor Ian Stevenson, and he has very carefully, very scientifically studied more than 3,000 cases. And there are so many books on reincarnation. You go to YouTube, you can go to Amazon.com, and you can see scientific research done on reincarnation, and the scientists have confirmed that the existence of soul and the soul leaving the body and going on to another body, assuming another body. So even Dr. Ian Stevenson, he said like the phobias also come from past life. In his research, he said that suppose a person died from drowning, and in the next life they develop that fear of water. That phobia comes in. And suppose somebody died of from a stabbing, like a knife, somebody kill you with a knife. In the next life, when they take a next life, they actually develop that phobia for that kind of weapons. And somebody shoot you with a gun, they develop a phobia for that firearms. That Ian Stevenson scientifically confirmed this. And this kind of actually, as you grow older and older, you forget those things. And he confirmed that when you were younger, you were remembering all this. Such a person's about their past life, they remember more when they are younger. But when they grow older and older, they are slowly forgetting. Actually, I mean, you can ask why only 3,000 people? Why not everybody is not remembering their past life? You can ask that question. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivisto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarve rahameva vedyo vedanta kridveda viteva chaham. Krishna says, I am forgetfulness. From me comes remembrance and forgetfulness. Knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness comes from me. So Krishna is purposefully making you forget few things. So that is actually a good thing for you. So see, suppose if you die in the past life, like we discussed in our first class, death is such a painful thing. It is when the soul is leaving this body, it is said in scriptures that you experience the pain of 42,000 scorpions biting you at once. That is what the scriptures describe. So you don't want to remember those things. So that is for your goodness. So Krishna is saying, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivisto matta smritir, remembrance. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha, jnanam, knowledge. Remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness, it comes from me. So Krishna is purposefully making you to forget few things that you need to forget. So even in this, our own life, we think, oh, I'm very glad that I no longer remember those things. It was such a horrible thing happened to me. I'm glad that I don't remember those things anymore. So we have that kind of experience in this life itself. So I mean, Krishna doesn't want you to remember your past life. So, but maybe Krishna wants to reveal this knowledge to everybody. He is already given this knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. But if we want to practically see, maybe Krishna is basically putting some people in a situation where they remember their past life, so that they're telling that information and the knowledge, giving that information and knowledge to everybody else. So, I mean, Krishna could do anything if he wants to do. He can do anything, right? So in his research, Dr. Ian Stevenson, he also confirmed that, for example, if you take twins, you know that you can, some of you medical in the medical field, you can confirm identical twins. They are physically born by splitting of a single egg. They have the same genetic material and everything is same, but they have different temperaments, they have different tastes, they are different in nature. Why? They are born from the same cells, they have the same genetical material, they have the same kind of I mean, scientifically, if you say they have the same genetic material, that means your I mean, physical body is pretty much the same. Both are identical, but still they're completely different. Then from his research, what Ian Stevenson he confirmed is two different souls reincarnated in two different bodies that are genetically identical. So uh, 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 the soul is this again proves that you are not this body, and the soul travels from one body to another body. So there is a nice video I want to show, but probably I don't know if you can hear the video or not. This is a video that was taken from a National Geographic channel. It was a scientifically studied a case. I'll just play this video, but you probably can read the subtitles, and quickly please read the subtitles. So, I mean, did you were you able to understand what's happening in the video? So, he was a kid. He was remembering his past life, that he was died in a World War II, and he remembered all the names of the ships, and he remembered the Japanese hitting him with a bomb and all that. And he was telling the names of all the crew members in the ship, and their parents were completely surprised, and he was always at home and he doesn't know anything about them. And after doing some research, and they found the people, and they went and met them, and he instantly recognized everybody. And I mean, they were sharing the instances that happened during that war. And it was scientifically confirmed that it's the same set A, set B, like we discussed. So it's the same soul passing from the past body to the new body, and he was remembering all the past experiences. And this is one more case study in Dr. Ian Stevenson's case study. Shukla Gupta, she's a 5-year-old girl. And when she was very young, she started telling so many things about her past life, and her parents and all were surprised. I mean, where was she giving all this information from? And she started telling that she used to live in a certain place, and her parents were, I mean, her husband was this, and her father-in-law was this, mother-in-law was this, and all that information she was giving. And then they decided to take her to that place, and the family members, all the family members, they all took her, and she is the one who gave the directions to the home. Once they landed in that town, she is the one they gave all the directions to go to that place. And they were all surprised. And when she went inside the home, she literally recognized her brother-in-laws, mother-in-law. She gave all the names, and she said, this is my husband, Sri Haridan Chakravarti. And she even described the names of her brother-in-laws and everybody. And she gave more than 30 different signs. If you read that book by Dr. Ian Stevenson, in that case study, she gave more than 30 different signs about her past life that were all true. She even said, like, if you go upstairs, there is a steel trunk. In that steel trunk, you will find a sari of such and such color. And they went and looked in the trunk, and they found that sari. Like this, like Ian Stevenson, he studied more than 3,000 cases of reincarnation very scientifically. I mean, removing all kinds of fake situations and all. He studied these cases very scientifically. And so scientifically, it's also proven that the soul travels from one body to another body. And that's what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. Even many scientists like Benjamin Franklin and Socrates, if you see what they said, like, finding myself to exist in the world, I believe I shall in some shape or the other always exist. I mean, see, these are great thinkers, right? When you try to understand the fundamental things, analyze things as they are. So you sometimes Krishna gives you the intelligence to understand some things as they are. Those souls, it's the second one. So those souls who revolted against God were placed here to transmigrate through various species of animals, birds, and reptiles, etc. When Socrates says, I'm confident that there truly is such a thing as living again, and the living spring from the dead. So, I mean, some people have some perception, some understanding about when they go deeper and deeper, and then they search, but they may not have the complete knowledge. From their experience, they could give some kind of they could share some kind of statements like this. But if you read our Vedas, and if you read our scriptures, it's very clear about the reincarnation. So now let us see what is the difference between a living person and a robot. So the reason we have to discuss this is, if you see in the contemporary world, especially in this modern world now, in the present day and age, it has become so popular. Robotics has become so popular. They're putting a nice skin of a woman or nice skin of a man, and saying that you don't need any more. You don't need a man's association, or you don't need a women's association. All you need to have is this a robot, and she will take care of you. And if you say hi, they will also say hi. If you say I love you, they say also I love you. So you have to understand what is the difference between the living person and a robot. I mean, this is a basic thing, but unfortunately people are falling for that. Even they don't even have that kind of knowledge. uh, so is man not just a powerful computer or robot? Just like we discussed, uh, suppose if you see this, yeah, if you, I mean, if you're watching a film, right? If some couple of people are acting, a camera is recording that. Whereas when a person is watching the same action, so he feels it, right? Eyes are the so he feels that perception, whereas a camera is just recording it. It has no experience, whereas we experience it has no emotions, and we feel like a happiness, sorrow, anger, all that, whereas the camera doesn't have consciousness. We have consciousness, and we can able to judge what's happening there, whereas a camera cannot judge. It's just a programmed. See, for example, if you see, some of you might be engineers, you can say just bringing out a linear motion or a rotary motion. I've seen like somebody doing some robot doing an arti, arti to the deities. So does it feel the emotion? Does it feel the connection between the God and yourself? So I mean, just by programming, putting a microprocessor and making some linear movements going forward and backward, and doing some rotary motions, or making the jaw move up and down, and putting a speaker inside and making it say I love you, or hi, how are you. These things anybody can do it, who can program it. Anybody can do it, right? It's not even like nowadays everybody calls it as artificial intelligence. It is not even artificial intelligence, it is borrowed intelligence, right? Somebody is programming it, it is borrowing the intelligence. So one person asked, so Swamiji, our body is already so complex. Studying our body itself is a great deal. What is the necessity to understand the soul? What is the necessity to study about soul? Then Srila Prabhupada said, does your computer grow? And does if your machines mate, does it produce a baby car or a baby robot? So does it undergo any changes? So the soul is the presence of soul is what makes the living body alive. So that is the reason why you have to study soul. So what is the major difference between a living body and a robot? A living body undergoes six changes while matter dwindles. So if you see, as soon as the soul leaves the body, or as soon as the presence of soul is there in human beings, in animals, even in plants. So when we look at outside, as soon as when the soul leaves the plant, it dwindles, right? It dries up, and it no longer it looks anymore. It doesn't look beautiful anymore. So like another difference is a male and female, they can multiply, they can reproduce, right? Whereas a dead body or a robot cannot do that. And a body has a living body has a consciousness, like a thinking, feeling, willingness. Whereas a dead body or a robot doesn't have any consciousness, right? So every living body undergoes six changes: birth, growth, maintenance, production of byproducts, dwindling, and death. Birth, old age, disease, and death. So as you see in this picture, the soul passes from one like a boy to youth to adulthood to old age, and similarly it dies. It comes to a death. The body dwindles. So the mechanism of mind. Next point is how the mind works. It is fascinating to see how Bhagavad Gita describes what is mind. Many people, I mean, even scientific class of people, they cannot describe the mind. But Krishna very nicely describes in Bhagavad Gita what is mind. The soul is covered by. I think I missed a slide. Okay, so this, if you look at this slide, what is mind? Before we understand mind, we have to understand how this body is made. How this body is made. The gross body that we have is made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Earth is this solid stuff like bones and flesh and all, that is earth. Water is there in the body. Fire is Jatar Agni. That means the Agni is present in our body in a different format that helps you to digest and all. The Agni, fire is also present in your body. Jatar Agni is called as Jatar Agni. And air. There are 10 different kinds of airs in our body, and of those 5 are prominent, like a prana, apana, samana, udana, yuvana. So even to evacuate in the morning, when you go to restroom, when to evacuate, you have to push all the dirt from inside out. So the air present in your body is helping you to push that out. So the air is present. There are 10 different kinds of airs that our scriptures nicely describe about those. And ether is the sound or the empty space present in your body. And this is the gross body. Just like we are wearing this shirt, this is the nature of the body. Actually, there are 26 different elements Bhagavad Gita describes. It goes into much deeper aspects how this gross body is made. There are 26 elements, but the main part is earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And then the subtle body, there is another thing called subtle body. So just like we are wearing this shirt, the soul is there, and around that soul there is a subtle body, and around that subtle body is the gross body. Okay, the subtle body is mind, intelligence, and false ego. Mind is like a hard disk. It stores all the information. Mind is like a hard disk, and intelligence is like a CPU. It gives you the directions. And false ego is ahankar. Ahankar is what makes you to attach yourself to the body. False ego is ahankar. When the soul leaves the body, it leaves the gross body that is made up of earth, water, fire, and air and ether. But the soul carries the subtle body with it. Mind, intelligence, and false ego, it carries the. So that's why when it travels from one body to another body, it carries all the impressions, all the data that's stored in the mind, like in the hard disk, it carries that along with it. And the soul, the nature of the soul is, it's described in our scriptures in Bhagavad Gita, Sach Chit Ananda. That is actually the nature of the soul. I mean, you can describe the nature of the body. It looks like I mean, you have the so and so texture, and when the bones inside is has so and so texture and all. So you can describe the body. Whereas the soul, nobody can describe. It is nicely described in our scriptures. It says like such Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means it is eternal. It doesn't have a end to it. The soul never dies. It is eternal. It lives continuously. And knowledge, it is full of knowledge. Knowledge about what? It is knowledge about the super soul or the Paramatma, its relationship with the Krishna. But unfortunately, it identifies itself with the body when it is entrapped in this material body, gross body, and it thinks and it identifies with the body. And then the third quality of the soul is being blissful, ananda. So if you observe that carefully, try to analyze it now. So when the soul is in the body and when the soul is not in the body, so when the soul is in the body, it hankers for knowledge. We want to study. That's why we go to colleges. That's why we want to study about everything, right? That phenomena of acquiring knowledge or your having that interest, or that your phenomena to acquire that knowledge is coming from soul itself, because that is its original nature. And blissful, we do so many things in our day-to-day life to become happy, right? That is actually the nature of the soul, to be happy. But when it is entrapped in this body, it is still searching for that happiness. And that is what is making ourselves making when we are entrapped in this body, that is what that nature of the soul is, what is making us in search of happiness. So we want to buy this car, we want to buy that car. We studied about happiness in our last class. I mean, we want to buy a big bungalow. So in search of that happiness, we do so many activities, because the nature of the soul is that one. But once the soul leaves the body, will the body have any hankering for knowledge? Will the body have any desire to acquire more happiness? So that is what the nature of the soul. And how the mechanism of mind works according to Bhagavad Gita. So there are 5 senses. These are like eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. And there are sense objects. Do you all know what is sense object? Sense object is that you can, the object that connects with your senses. So if there is a nice beautiful painting that is connecting with your eyes, right, that is a sense object, and your senses are perceiving that sense object. So that impression goes into your mind. The mind stores those thoughts and all your unfulfilled desires and previous experiences, everything. The mind stores that information, and intelligence is the decision maker. So if we looked at this slide in our past previous class. So if you look at this picture, our scriptures describe these five senses to the five horses, and the reins that are controlling the horses is the mind, and the intelligence, the decision maker, is the one that controls the mind. And if you don't have strong intelligence, you can no longer control your mind, and each senses go in each different direction. And the soul who is sitting in the chariot is going to eventually fall down. So the sense control is so important. But in our contemporary education, there is no concept of sense control at all. We'll see what happens if you don't control the senses. Krishna says, Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmanachitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. So Krishna is saying in Dhyana Yoga in 6th chapter, he says, for who has conquered the mind is the best friend. But for who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So you see around us, right? How many people are suffering? I mean, literally, there are so many rehab places. The people wants to like alcoholics, sex addicts, and this addict, that addict. There are societies and there are institutions uh, exclusively to help you to come out of your situations, right? You see that around us, and there are so many prison houses because of the uncontrolled senses, because of the uncontrolled mind. All they want to do is just get gratified, because the senses always hanker for that kind of gratification. When you don't have strong enough intelligence, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have strong enough intelligence, you cannot control the mind. Or even, I mean, if Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is such an amazing person. He himself says it's like a controlling mind is so difficult. It is just like putting lighting up a diya, like a candle, and putting in the middle of a wind. And can you stop the wind from? Can you keep the candle from not burning out? I mean, can you keep the candle from not putting off? So the wind will put it off, right? So that is the kind of the nature of mind. It is so difficult to control. But how can you control it? When you have the proper knowledge, you use that knowledge, and the intelligence. When you use that knowledge, the intelligence is what controls the mind. So the nature of the mind in a chariot, like suppose what will happen when you control an uncontrolled mind, right? It will be the greatest enemy, like we just described. So uh, another example you can give is like a flood. Let us say a flood. There is a flood, right? Is flood any good? What will a flood do? It will wipe out the crops, it will wipe out the cattle, it will wipe out the houses, it will create such a havoc, right? It's a when there is a uncontrolled flood, it is completely wiping out everything. Suppose if you create a dam, what happens? You're controlling that energy of big, huge body of water, and you're slowly releasing that energy. You're slowly releasing that water, and then it becomes such a useful thing. It can grow so many crops, and it can give life to cattle, it can give life to human beings. So that water is useful. It becomes automatically useful. Similarly, when we control our senses, and the energy you can, and the power of senses and the power of mind, you can use it in a positive way. But when it becomes uncontrolled, Krishna is saying it becomes your greatest enemy. I mean, that's the reason you see so much violence. When there are uncontrolled minds, they just take a gun and they identify themselves with the body. They don't have a higher understanding. They go and shoot everybody, and they fulfill their desires. They fulfill their gratification, sense gratification. So can the mind be controlled? So it's just like a knife. It is compared to a knife. A knife is good or bad? when the knife is in the hands of a surgeon, it can save a life. But when the same knife is in the hand of a bad person, it can kill the person. Similarly, mind is also same thing. If we give the proper intelligence to mind, it becomes your best friend. But if you don't have the proper intelligence, and if all you know is just gratifying your senses, then it becomes your enemy. I mean, garbage in, garbage out. Like we discussed, mind is the hard drive. Mind is the hard drive. It stores all the experiences. If you put garbage in, what you're going to get out is also garbage out. So how do you put good things in your mind? So what we read, what we watch, what we hear, so all the information that is stored in the hard drive is coming through your senses, right? So that the experiences you give to your senses is very important. If you read good things, that good information is stored in your mind. If you hear good music, the good information, the good vibes, the good spiritual, for example, a nice spiritual music, it keeps you such a pleasantness, it gives you such a calmness to your whole existence, right? And if you watch a very bad movie versus something, you watch something that like something like a divine thing, it helps you in a way. Like if you keep good friends versus if you associate with your bad friends, I have seen literally in my own colleagues lives. And I mean, for example, one of my colleague, his son, I mean, he was such a nice guy, he was literally such a nice guy throughout his childhood, and very educated, very all A grades and all. And as soon as he went into teenage, he associated himself with some bad association, and then he rubbed off all those bad qualities onto himself. Till that time, he's clean slate, but he absorbed all the qualities of the bad association, and then he was put himself into a jail because he committed himself to drugs and addiction. And finally, he came out of the jail, and he was so disturbed, and he shot himself, and he was dead. So such is the experiences you get when you expose your senses, your body, your mind to bad things, versus you expose yourself to good things, because all the good things are stored in your hard drive, in your mind. So simple things, just a simple example. So for example, somebody is a smoking habit. The mind tells, because it is perceiving something, it is so cool. Everybody is doing that. Oh, smoking cigarette is so cool. But I mean, it literally is burning your lungs, but they say it's so cool, right? Um, so but mind says everybody is doing it. I also want to do it. I also want to indulge into it. But your intelligence can think. Your intelligence can give you the right information to mind. Oh, it is a bad habit. So if you train your intelligence, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, the intelligence tells the mind. So this is a bad habit. Do not indulge into it. Or you might say, like, suppose if my father or mother sees, he won't like it. So that is the intelligence. That instruction that you're giving to the mind is basically the intelligence. So this is how, according to Bhagavad Gita, this is how the mechanism of mind works. So having this knowledge helps you to live a proper life. And what are the practical benefits in understanding this knowledge? Suppose when you have proper understanding that you are not the body, you have the spirit soul, what are the benefits? So there will not be any more division. See, for example, there is a quarrel between Hindus and Muslims, always whites and blacks. There is the rich and poor. There is always differences, educated and illiterates. There is always this difference. But when you know that you are the spirit soul and you are not the body, then there is automatically there develops a universal brotherhood. That knowledge itself helps you to see everybody. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, a learned person, a properly learned person, he sees everything equally. He sees a cow, he sees a dog eater, or a chandala, a dog eater, or a brahmana, a learned brahmana, an elephant or a snake. Everything you see equally. Of course, you don't go and embrace a snake, because you know its response will be different, because it is attached to that particular body and its nature is different. But the spirit soul, when you have the knowledge of the spirit soul, you see every living entity equally. And Krishna also says, samalostrasma kanchana. Sama, lostra. Lostra means a pebble. Asma means a stone. Kanchanaha. Kanchanaha means gold. Samalostrasma kanchana. Sama. You see all these things equally. When you have a higher understanding, when you do not associate with these material things anymore, when you have a proper knowledge, and you know that all these things that are associated with the material body are temporary, you no longer get attracted to those things. You have a higher understanding, and you live to feed the soul rather than feeding your body continuously. And people, you see, I mean, in China, I have read somewhere, in here and there, not only in China, in some right now the teenagers are so affected. They want to change their body. I mean, they want to have the plastic surgeries going on. Somebody somewhere, I said, there is a trend going on. All the short girls, they're doing some kind of surgery. They want to become taller. I mean, all these kinds of things. They want to look beautiful. But once you understand that you're not the body and you're the spirit soul, you no longer have that bodily consciousness. For example, when I mean, literally, recently there is a big union happened in Kolkata in India, who people lived a life based on Bhagavad Gita, literally, across the globe in all the 180 countries that are present, whether it's Chinese, Europeans, whites, blacks, they all came to Kolkata. Almost like more than 100,000 people came. Literally, but that is the real unity in diversity, the real brotherhood, universal brotherhood. Why? Because they are living a life of knowledge. They are living a life given, the knowledge given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. That creates the universal brotherhood. People, I mean, there are so many, after the World War and all, there are so many institutions like United Nations and this and that. But did that really create any universal brotherhood? It did not. That's a fact, right? But when you have the understanding of soul and the body, the difference between them, and the spirit soul, the spark of life present in every body is nothing but a part and parcel of Krishna, then you create a real unity in diversity. That is the benefit of this knowledge. When you are living in this material world, you can live peacefully. At the same time, you can use that knowledge to transcend this temporary life. And that the knowledge also gives you you can raise above your inferiority complexes, like your bodily consciousness. I'm ugly, I'm short, I'm black, I'm this, I'm that. So when you have the knowledge of soul, you can transcend beyond that. And you can develop a positive outlook while you're living in this body, and you're living your material day-to-day life. You can develop a positive outlook when you have that knowledge of soul, that you are not this body and you are spirit soul. You have a higher understanding and right use of resources. See, I mean, literally, you are bombarded with so much dead matter around you. For example, these toys, plastic, electronic gadgets, and this and that. You're literally, I mean, excavating the whole earth, and you're trying to create something. And still it is not enough. And Gandhiji said, there is enough for everybody needs, but there is not enough for everybody's wants. When you have a proper understanding of that you are not this material body, but you are spirit soul, and everything that is associated with this body is temporary, then you will also use the resources that's given by Krishna in a careful manner. So that is the end of the class. We'll just summarize everything what we studied. So we studied about matter, am I matter or am I spirit? And we have also seen some scientific proofs, the existence of a soul and the reincarnation. And we also studied between the difference between the living person and a robot. And we also studied about the mechanism of mind, how the mind works and how the intelligence works and how the soul works, and about the gross body, earth, water, how it is made up of earth, water, fire, and air and ether. So that's it. Any questions? Oh, I mean, what do you all think? Is this practically useful? I mean, with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, do you think it gives you a higher understanding, difference between soul and the body and the mind, and understanding those basic fundamental principles? Do you have any questions based upon on this topic? Is anybody any questions?
No questions. Namaskar. Bahut acha. It was a very good presentation. I'm at my age, by now, I mean, of course, um, listening to a lot of, lectures and so, I mean, the basic we understand, between mind, body, intelligence, and inner body, outer body. So, I mean, it's very good that, how, because I have not read the Gita personally, but it's interesting to see that, Gita is sort of like, just like you say, it's like a um, sort of a summary of all of those. So it's good to know that this is also part of Gita, because this is all we have been reading and learning, all our lives. So I'm just curious to, see which shlokas, just like I said, it's like just understanding that this is all actually part of summarized in Gita too. No, that's
And trying to pick the verses from Gita that explains the
yes,
specific topic. I mean,
yes,
if we go by chapter, I mean, every verse by verse, we may not be able to connect everything. But if
sure,
we
sure.
pick the right verses that this verse
Hmm.
Krishna is describing, then we can understand it clearly.
Very true.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you don't have any questions, we can stop the session now, or if you have any questions, we can take the questions.
Just want to say thank you. Wonderful information.
Thank you, Mataji.
And I will come to temple to pick up those books you mentioned.
Yes, Mataji, we can. I'll meet you in the morning.
What time I should be there?
Is it possible at 12?
Yes, yes, I'll be there at 12.
Okay,
Sure.
okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.